AI is slowly killing off the technology consulting industry, and I'm going to talk about why that is here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent and tech-agnostic consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world with their digital transformation journeys. And as I mentioned at the top of the video, AI is killing, and if it's not killing, it's disrupting the consulting space as we know it. Even though I've been a career consultant my entire life, it's a known fact that a lot of the work that consultants do can be automated and is highly inefficient, and that's something that's going to benefit clients longer term. When we think of AI, a lot of times we're thinking about how AI can be used by end organizations, and we certainly consult organizations on their use of AI. But what I want to do today is shift gears and talk about how AI is disrupting our own industry, our own business, and the consulting and technology implementation space in general. And joining me for this conversation are three other experts. We have Khalid Morris, who's a director of AI strategy and transformation at Third Stage. Khalid, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And then we have Xenon and Will from Octor, which is our partner company that we work with. Thanks for being here today.
Good.
So Octor is the engine behind Third Stage's mission control AI tool, and it's a tool we use in our consulting engagements from start to finish. And Octor is the company that actually provides that engine. So the mission control AI tool that Third Stage uses is powered by Octor. So it's great to have the architects and the minds behind the AI tool we use to help us unpack this conversation here. And it may sound weird that we're talking about killing off the industry that we're all part of, but that is, in fact, what we're starting to see happen here. So, Khalid, let's start with you and talk about AI and how it's affecting our own work, our business, in terms of how we deliver to clients, how we analyze their businesses, how we help them through their implementations. How are we starting to see our own mission control AI tool disrupt our work?
Well, just in general consulting, we're an extension of the companies that we're supporting, the marketplace itself. The demands are shifting. The kinds of things that we needed to do for digital transformations in general is adapting in real time. So from that end, number one, the demand is changing, right? Number two, the strategic part of this story, I think, has really has a completely different spin. It used to be somewhat of an effort, certainly for the work that we would do, to do a lot of strategy for a lot of the clients that we're supporting. They really just wanted to get into the software and not really dive too deeply into a lot of the strategic elements. Now they kind of need to, and I think they understand that. And so there's a greater need for strategy conversations. There's a greater need for business case and really understanding the options. And a lot of times they'll even know the options because they're doing research on their own. They'll even know some of the options that are there, but then still get to that point of, okay, I hear the options, I'm rolling them out. I know which ones that I want to do, but I don't know how to build the real business case in a material way to kind of make that last decision. So it's dramatically shaping the front end to how clients are coming to the decision. And then on the other side is dramatically shaping delivery because this is a general, you don't need as big teams anymore. I mean, it used to be, I've been on teams, 50 plus people. You kind of get an army, the idea of having the army of consultants that come through the door in their suits. I think that's kind of dead, right? Like you just don't need as many people to pull off the work. You can be a lot more efficient. So as the teams are scaling down in size, I think that puts pressure on the talent to kind of really be at a certain level, to really be able to interpret material that they see, quality check material that they see, and really add value in ways that are beyond kind of the traditional kind of, produced documents or some of the more basic elements, right? I think you kind of need a more heightened level of engagement, a heightened level of support. And I certainly feel like there's more delivery, more execution, right? The execution parts of this where you're doing more build work, more configuration, a lot of the integration and automation work there. Like a lot of the hard kind of work, the build work, is still very much there.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the consulting world is kind of shaping to that strategy build kind of model there. with a lot of AI support.
Yeah, and it seems like too the highest value part of what consultants bring to the table is not doing the stuff you talked about around detailed documentation or configuration, customization of technology. That's all stuff that it's important, but if you can automate that, then that frees up the consultants to use their brains to handle the stuff that AI can't do. Things like the change management, the training and adoption, the making sure your strategy's in sync with your overall organization and whatnot. So all those things are things that AI can't necessarily automate. It allows us to focus on what we're good at.
You still need the documentations, the sign-offs, and that sort of thing. It's just AI just kind of quickly. I mean, it does it. It helps you and it expedites the curve so quickly that you're not spending hours upon hours doing that kind of thing, right? So it might take you a month or 2 months to kind of get through some deliverable documents. And when you're working with AI, that cycle is reduced in half or more, right? To where we can do some stuff in real time even, right? So it just shortens that cycle. And so then it becomes what's next. So everything just gets faster, right? Because so I don't know if we'll have as many long cycle projects. It'll be more, everyone wants to get to value quickly. Things that maybe took 2 years, people are trying to do quicker than that. Say how can we kind of get to a space where we're not spending so much on consulting and we're just spending more. I think companies are kind of focused more on what that value is. And I think that's why that business case is so important. They're really looking at the dollars to say what's really worth it for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So turning to Will and Xenon from Octor, if I look at our company has less than 100 consultants. It's a boutique sort of consulting firm. We're independent, tech agnostic. So we don't make our money off the lower level grunt work that can lead to a lot of billings and a lot of time in a project. But a lot of bigger consulting firms that have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, they rely on the bottom of the pyramid, the low level, entry level people that are doing Visio flows and documenting meeting notes and a lot of the stuff that you guys are automating with your tool. And now we're automating. How are big consulting firms or consulting firms in general, how are they responding to this? Are they open to the idea of AI, knowing that AI is going to completely disrupt and potentially reduce their revenue stream and their cash cow, or how's the market responding here?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Eric. I think one thing that we're seeing is that the more forward-thinking tech consulting firms, they're understanding that there's this large shift happening where professional services in 5 years, maybe even a year or two, it's not primarily going to be billable hours driven. It's going to be more outcomes focused, where the outcomes are really what drives the value the consulting firm receives in exchange for providing the outcome. And with that, in that regard, I think what we're seeing is that a lot of the forward-thinking firms, they are focused on automating the grunt work, the lower level tasks, and larger firms, there are cases where a lot of them are downsizing because they're realizing we need to have more nimble, leaner teams that are leveraging AI to deliver the outcomes faster.
I think to your point, right? Like even though the third stage is a bit more boutique-y, leveraging AI, you're able to do a lot more with less, which now moving forward is going to be a lot more appealing to end customers as well, because you have these proof points that are going to be more outcome based. You can show your efficiencies. There's a lot more predictability, and the customer feels better about that as well. And no one wants to waste their whole week talking to 50 consultants, right? Like at the end of the day. And so if you can really bring that down, but increase the efficiency, it's a win-win on both sides. So
yeah, absolutely. And certainly, we can't forget about the people that really win in this whole thing are the customers. The clients are going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
But we just need to make sure that the consulting industry doesn't stand in the way of what the inevitable is. And that was something that people have asked internally within third stage, like, what's with this AI thing? Is that going to hurt us? Is that going to make our revenue lower? Is it going to bring our utilization down? But to your point, we can either ignore it and put our head in the sand and just hope it goes away, which it's not going to, or we can lean into it and say, let's just embrace it and run with it and be the disruptors of our own business model.
Exactly.
And then we'll be more successful, will be more cost effective, more value driven. And ultimately, the idea is you win more business that way.
Exactly.
And like, you're not just seeing this in consulting either, right? You have other services, businesses like law, right? Like accounting and tax, where like you're seeing vertical AI companies in these various industries where it's a similar sentiment, right? Because a lot of the more manual grunt work, like these foundation models are here and they're powerful, and like people have exposure to that, including the end customers. And so now within, our other customer base as well, like we're seeing end customers now go to their SIs or their consultants and being like, hey, we're using AI internally. How are you using AI to help us implement whatever software we need to get implemented? We don't think this should take X amount of months, right? We think that it should be more efficient because we have our own internal efficiencies. And so even from the end customer, they're starting to feel that pressure of adopting AI and leveraging this new technology. Like you said, it's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One thing we talked about before we started recording this video, the four of us, we were talking about how AI and in your tool in particular is sort of changing that center of gravity from the sole dependency and almost that learned helplessness that is built with big system integrators because they have all the knowledge, they own your documentation, they know the system. But now if you bring in AI and say, actually the center of gravity is the customer, which is the way it should have always been.
Yeah.
Now AI is capturing what their needs are. It's taking all that tribal knowledge, putting it at a central place that is not the system integrator, it's not the consultants, it's the actual client. So I think that's a really important, non-technical, but important shift that AI is enabling as well. So Khalid, what are some examples that we're seeing with our clients when we use this mission control AI tool set and we go out and do this consulting work? In the past, it was all humans doing the work. It was all just our consultants. Now it's our consultants with AI companionship. So how is the AI tool set changing the way or improving the way our consultants work?
It's kind of like a database. I mean, when you think about it, like when you before, especially in programming, you had this database, which is sort of the place where all of your important information was sort of stored. AI kind of lives, certainly in delivery, can function this way, and we certainly use it. Across the life of the project, AI sort of starts to become that place where if you needed to understand or know something, something happened in a meeting that you a couple of weeks or months ago, you can go back to AI to kind of get details on like what happened there or what was it becomes very retrieval in the same way that databases has supported applications, at least in terms of unique ways that maybe I didn't see before. It's like I find myself in this space of doing some quality checking, if you will, around certain things. And when you're doing digital transformation projects, certain elements of it starts to become, I don't want to say fuzzy, but you can easily forget these variables because these variables change so much. So you start the project, you have conversations, there are critical parts of the project that sort of get established, and 3 or 4 months from now, do you remember those elements? And I think it's very important. AI has a ability to kind of empower the entire project to sort of remember those core values. We have preached for years. You certainly have, and across the course of your career, but it's a core tenet about what we do here at Third Stage, that when you get into business benefits and core elements that that maybe drive the business case or the reasons why you decide to go down the line of a digital transformation project in the first place, you want to make sure at the end of the project that those core your drivers are sort of being met, right? Otherwise, like, you can easily have a failed implementation, even though you actually implement the product. The core pieces of it you didn't implement, right? Because you forgot to implement it, or it was hard, or whatever the reason.
People aren't using it.
People aren't using it, adoption. So that sort of thing, I think with AI gets a lot easier because you just have a reliable partner, if you will, that is keeping track of everything. So as you're thinking through and strategizing and getting through all the details of the drama that happens in a given project, you kind of have this partner that's there that's able to kind of keep log of everything to say, didn't this happen? And that's yes, no, this is exactly what happened. This is the person that said it. It's like, okay, good. Now you can go back to that person, right, and be able to remind them of core elements that they introduced to the project that we want to make sure getting that. So it's a different kind of accountability and a different kind of accountability partner. But I think that that's a big part of for us the way we use it. It is just make sure that we hit those core drivers in our projects in ways that maybe we're trying to track it on spreadsheets before, that we don't have to do it in that way now. That's a big part for me in terms of how it's being used. It certainly speeds up things in other aspects on the documentation and deliverable side of it. So it just sort of shortens your entire deliverable timeline. Like if you thought it's going to take you a week to do something, and if you're working, or at least on the project, usually it'll take just a day or maybe two, but that too is a refinement day. It's not right like an actual work day. It's more of a, I need to make this really good day, right? Like, and before, I don't think we had that capacity. I think that it would take you a long time to do stuff. So it's very supportive. We certainly use it in various ways, and we're learning new ways to sort of use it. It's not set in stone for us. This is new for the way we go about business. But those are probably the two ways that for me jump off, or have jumped off the page, if you will.
Because you think about it, when we go into a client for the first time, one of the first things we do is a process review. We walk through their end-to-end processes the way they are today, what's working well, what's not. And typically you'd have a person facilitating the conversation, and then you'd have another person that's primarily taking notes and making sure we capture everything. And now all of a sudden, and that those are two FTEs or two people that are billing by the hour. Yeah. But now what could happen is one person could facilitate that same conversation and then go have AI spit out a first cut at the results, and then you can go review it and modify it as needed. But it's not taking all that time of manually capturing this information.
It's a rewrite. It's kind of like if you write, the best writing is rewriting, and if you wrote kind of an article or something like that, that first cut of it is kind of a draft. And it's almost like your notes. You're putting it together, but then you go back in and rewrite it again, then you go back in it. So by their third revision of it, it starts to look like a kind of document that you're ready to kind of go forward with. AI kind of just takes the whole first draft process and makes it a lot simpler, right? Yeah. Just being able to combine your notes with, like you said, you have that session, you have your process session, you're doing your thing, and you kind of understand, and you're asking the client certain questions, and you're gathering facts. Well, it's gathering facts too. It has its own perspective. It has notes that is providing you too. And so you're taking their notes, you have your notes. And then when you start to combine these things to kind of get that first draft, I mean, you get this very detailed element there in your first draft that, it probably wouldn't have been as special like if you did it on your own, right? It'll just be sort of a one perspective view. And it's just the one, it's important. I'm not saying that what you're seeing and what you did isn't important. But now you can take what's important and what you see and understand about the client and the room and all different elements there, and combine it with this very detailed account of what happened every step of the way. And so you can layer all of the important elements that you understand with all of the baseline foundational blocks that you may have even missed because you may have been more focused on something that you thought was of significant value for the client that you wanted to hone in on. So yeah, you don't need as many people. And, you have this account. I think of it as accountability partner. You have this accountability partner kind of in the room with you, listening and understanding everything. And you can go back to that partner and say, okay, this is what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? Yeah. And then you can really you can evolve into, I think, a final byproduct there that client is, that that they tend to like.
Yeah, absolutely. How about from your guys' perspective, what are some other ways that you're seeing other technical implementers benefit from using AI rather than just doing everything manually as humans?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is to what Khalid was saying, right? Like, your initial thought process of AI is like, okay, the creation of net new units of work faster, right? But I think within, our product and what our current customers are seeing, a lot of is to what you were alluding to, very specific to the consulting and services industry, right? When you think about these large scale implementation projects, a key piece of that is the traceability of everything, right? A big problem in the industry is misaligned requirements with the end client, what they need, their business processes, their pain points, and turning those into the right requirements and ultimately downstream artifacts into the rest of the implementation. But now with AI, because it has that tribal knowledge of, your previous context, your projects that you've done, it's able to make sure that you have that full traceability of these different artifacts, especially as you go deeper into delivery, where now all of a sudden you're able to retrace back to what was said 2 months ago at the very start in pre-sales, when you're referencing something in post-sales, right? And that's very important, to make sure scope creep doesn't happen, make sure you're in line with what you promised the client, what they're asking from you. But not only that, like keeping everything still fully efficient. But past that, right, like a lot of it is also, like you said, to your database example, being able to take large corpuses of data and synthesizing that in a efficient and, a very efficient way for you to utilize it, right? There's a lot of noise that happens. And so being able to filter that down into the key criteria that you need for a project is also something that AI is going to be able to help do versus someone going, an individual going through 10 hours of discovery calls. A lot of times you're going to miss something, right? And if anything, a point of feedback that we've gotten from our customers is, hey, I didn't know I missed that, but going back to it, I realized that that's a really important point, right? Because, we're humans. Like if you put me in a room and had me listen to 20 hours of discovery session, then I'm going to miss something, unfortunately, right? But the beauty with AI is like, it doesn't get tired, right?
It doesn't.
So it doesn't think about other things.
Yeah. The one thing I think you said there that, is a really good point. We don't really have this issue here because we don't really have a defined sales team. Our sales team, delivery team are kind of merged a little bit where you have a certain element. Eric is always sensitive to this point, but when you're working with larger from a lot of the big four in particular, that's not like that, right? So the sales team is very different than the delivery team. And there are huge gaps that sort of happen when the handoff needs to occur from the client. I've been with clients that have said, well, in sales, this happened or that happened. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just telling you what this thing could do. It can't do that. So whatever you were talking about there is, and I'm just saying that, now with kind of this apart, think of it as a partner almost, you have a more even exchange. You have someone that can be there all the way through to those long calls and then doesn't get tired. So no, I think that's a great point.
Yeah. And I think another big value driver that we're seeing with our customers too with AI is that beyond single projects, one-off projects, a lot of our customers, they have deep relationships with their end customers spanning decades. And with AI now, you have that tribal knowledge, you have that knowledge base of that customer, and now it's significantly easier to pull that context as you do more and more projects. So the value you're getting isn't necessarily static efficiency. The efficiency gains, frankly, increase over time, over engagements.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at, what we're seeing with some of our clients, especially the ones that are moving further downstream since we started using the tool, is that you capture your initial requirements, your initial process review. Then that leads to potential analysis of how your processes can be improved based on not only that client, but other companies in that industry. It creates, it could create test scripts. It can create user documentation that you can then tailor for that specific industry based on the technology they're deploying. And so there's so many downstream deliverables that start with getting that foundation and that AI database, as you call it, that knowledge, that tribal knowledge that now we've captured in one place. Now it starts spitting out deliverables downstream that speed things up.
Exactly.
I mean, critical deliverables. And you also have to keep in mind that this partner that we're kind of talking about kind of has a longer domain knowledge than even you. So once you get into I'll know an application, I'll know a language, I'll know a certain part of the story, but I always don't know all the stories. Sometimes you get on client sites and they're dealing with the technology that you're not familiar with. Their current state is maybe it's old school, maybe it's legacy, and maybe that's part of why they want to kind of go through this digital transformation and modernize. So just understanding that you're having a partner there that understands. I know the technology that they're coming off of, like to a very deep nth degree. And I also know the technology as that it's kind of going on to, right? Like it bridges a ton of gaps, and it allows, especially when you get into, I think, another aspect of this that is going to dramatically shape the consulting industry, and that's the change aspect and the need for change management in ways that it was always needed. But I think with AI, it's going to come back a bit. I know that it's not always something, it's not a sexy topic that a lot of companies want to deal with or people want to pay for. But change management is huge. It's very important. And I think that's a ripple of some of this is there's going to be a greater need for these change impacts that you're kind of talking about. So that foundation can really move into how we're going to create change impacts in efficient ways. That's kind of outlined. This is the way you were doing it before, this is where we're doing it now, and kind of have a history of how things were done. So there's a lot of different tentacles to it. But no, it's very helpful to have that tight, solid foundation where everyone understands critical elements of the project and to be able to spin off of that into some of the critical consulting deliverables that need to happen off that.
So Khalid, when we've used this mission control AI tool set, we've rolled it out a handful of clients, and we'll be using it on all of our clients. But for the ones where we've piloted it so far, how are our actual end clients responding to our use of this tool?
Honestly, I think they're responding to our use the same way they're trying to respond to their use. And it is kind of this glazed, curious, I don't know what to quite make of this yet, but you're kind of walking down this street that you don't really know, that you've never been down before. Gold dark, but you're like, oh, but I think I need to be down this place, right? So they're very curious. They've been warm. They like it. A lot of the times they're getting benefits from it that they don't even realize, right? And a lot of their demands, a lot of those crazy demands that normally in consulting we kind of have to push back on. At least in my experience, I'm not pushing back on as much. It's because they might give you a tight time frame, like, oh, we need these done in 2 months, and normally I'm like, you can't do that in 2 months. You need to, let's revise this and let's think about this in a different way. Now it's like, oh, we need to get this done in 2 months, and we're kind of like, okay, I think we can actually do that in 2 months. It's those things, so they don't feel it more than maybe we do. Yeah. But that's, to me, I think this is a dance that we're all experiencing kind of in real time. Like they're trying to figure out their AI component, we're trying to figure out ours, and we're all kind of dealing with this new a variant that's kind of around us, and it's so far has been a decent experience, right? Like so far it's been good for us, and I think for them on their side it's been positive for them, and they've been very understanding as they start to shape what their AI environments look like themselves.
Right. So just wrapping it up, where do you guys see Will and Xenon with Octa, with AI in general, in the tech consulting space? How does this industry look in 3 to 5 years, and how do you hope it looks based on what you guys are doing with your company?
That's a great question, and I think like kind of to Khalid's point, right? Like right now, the end customer might not necessarily be seeing the full benefits that they're getting from these firms using AI, but something that our customers and we're really excited to roll out in the very next month or so is something that actually starts involving the end customer, right? So, we've talked about this offline, but it's now encapsulating both ends, right? Both stakeholders, both the end customer and also the system integrator and the technology consultants to actually close that loop and leverage AI not only for the internal workflows to deliver better for the end customer, but now even involving the end customer in their own delivery process, right? And so where we see the company going is back to what we were saying in the beginning, allowing folks like yourselves to do more with less, right? And really empowering the folks that are using the AI, right? A lot of times people are saying, oh, like AI is going to kill this, AI is going to do this. But I think what we're really saying is AI is enhancing all of us, right? It's allowing you to do more of that higher level strategy work that AI can't really do at all, but automating a lot of that more manual, mundane work that is still very necessary. But at this point, should it be taking hours upon hours to do. And so now we're really going to see the end customers seeing that benefit as we go deeper and deeper into the product. So
Yeah. So what you're saying is AI will not kill consulting, but it'll kill consulting with only humans. Okay, got it. All right. So that's great feedback, and I appreciate you guys sharing your experiences with clients, your experiences with the industry as a whole. And I'd love to hear from the audience. So what do you think the future of consulting looks like? How does AI intersect with consulting? Is it going to kill consulting? Love to hear your feedback. Drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. So I hope you found this information useful. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and hope you have a great day.